Hello and welcome tonight. Twin explosions rock Maiduguri, Borno State, killing at least 5 people and leaving many injured. Federal government gives assurance of the rescue of more Chibok girls as the Nigeria Air Force promises to ensure their safety as anti-insurgency operations continue. NLC and TUC prepare for a showdown over the crisis in the Federal Medical Center in Owerri. Give federal government 21-day ultimatum to resolve dispute. And bloodbath in the Central African Republic as clashes between militia groups leave 25 people killed.
And on business news tonight, Central Bank of Nigeria plans huge sanctions against fraudsters.
It's a happy day on sports news tonight as Nigeria's Aruna Quadri and Segun Toriola clinched men's doubles title at the ITTF Africa Senior Championships.
I'm Sulaiman Alede. We begin tonight in Maiduguri, where at least 5 people today lost their lives and another 24 injured after twin bombings rocked the Borno State capital. The National Emergency Management Agency put the figure of the dead at 9, while the police say 6 people, including the suicide bomber, died in the incident. Unconfirmed reports say that the bombing may have been carried out by a man disguised as a woman and another by a woman. The Commissioner of Police in Borno State, Mr. Damian Chukwu, says security has been heightened in the state. His men, he says, are working to arrest the masterminds of the attacks.
This is the road that leads to the entrance of Bakassi internally displaced persons camp in Maiduguri, Borno State. It is the second largest IDP camp in the state. And here, a suspected suicide bomber ran into a group of men and women at the entrance of the camp.
It happens just adjacent to the camp. I don't know what is his mission, but it's a male suicide bomber who disguised in a woman dress, and she came into the. He's a male, but dressed up in disguise as a woman, and on his way to penetrate into the camp, and the civilian jet sighted him, and in the process, he detonated the bomb, I think.
5 minutes later, at a different location, another explosion occurs very close to the NNPC mega filling station on Damboa Road. Another suicide bomber was reportedly seen in this tricycle before detonating an IED he had on him. According to the State Emergency Agency, at least 5 people were killed in both attacks, while about 11 persons sustained various degrees of injury. They are believed to be residing in the camp. Briefing journalists on the incident, the Commissioner of Police in the state, Mr. Damian Chukwu, asks the residents not to relent in their vigilance and avoid a recurrence.
We have enjoyed relative peace for some time now, and I believe because of the rents, they have made it difficult for some of these but I know that now that we are entering dry season, they will have more access to cars and other communities. So we need you, the press, to help us do the
Although the fight against insurgency has recorded remarkable success, the need for the citizens to be more vigilant and security conscious cannot be overemphasized.
Talks aimed at rescuing more of the Chibok girls are still in Boko Haram captivity is ongoing. This is according to the Minister of Information, Culture and Tourism, Mr. Lai Mohammed, who was speaking in Asaba, the Delta State capital, after presiding over the 3-day conference of the National Council of Information.
Remember when those 21 girls were released, we did state that it is only the first step, but it's a very important confidence-building step that will pave way for the release of more girls. And as I speak to you, talks are on. But you know, these are very sensitive talks, very sensitive negotiations that cannot always be made public. But I want to assure Nigerians that talks are going on, and we are confident and optimistic as ever that very soon there will be good news for Nigerians.
And for those still concerned about the safety of the Chibok girls, as the Nigerian Air Force continues its operations against the insurgents, the Chief of Air Staff says there's no cause for worry. According to Air Marshal Sadiq Abubakar, Air Force operations have become more clinical in the fight against Boko Haram through the use of more sophisticated intelligence surveillance aircraft. The Chief of Air Staff was responding to the plea of one of the 21 rescued Chibok girls, asking the Air Force to be mindful of the operations in order not to wipe out the other girls still in captivity. The Air Force boss spoke to journalists during the commissioning of personnel blocks in Port Harcourt, Rivers State.
Every mission we conduct, before we go out to bomb any location, we send an ISR platform, intelligence, surveillance, and Reiki aircraft. The whole idea is to identify legitimate military targets so that we do not go around in the process of destroying or dealing with Boko Haram, kill innocent people. That we are doing and will continue to do. There is nowhere in the world, no force in the world will tell you that. They will give you 100% guarantee that there will be no collateral damage in military conflict. But what we are doing is, I want to say that we are doing everything humanly possible to ensure the particular case that they get referred to was sometimes in the beginning of 2015 that this incident happened. But I want to tell you that right now we have reactivated our ISR platform. At the time she was talking about, we had only 2 ISR platforms. Today we have 6. And the whole idea is to ensure that we do everything humanly possible to protect the lives of innocent people.
Reports say the chairman of the Kogi State chapter of the Fulani socio-cultural group known as Wuro Miyetti Allah Association, Alhaji Ibrahim Abu Bakar, has been killed by unknown gunmen. The attackers say are said to be about 8 in number, allegedly invaded his residence in the early hours of today in an operation said to have lasted for about an hour. The Commissioner of Police in Kogi State, Mr. Abdullahi Shafi, confirmed the incident to Channels Television, adding that investigations are on to unravel the circumstances behind the act and arrest the perpetrators. The crisis rocking the Federal Medical Center, Owerri, Imo State, seems far from over as the Nigeria Labour Congress and the Trade Union Congress have given the federal government a 21-day ultimatum to resolve the industrial crisis. The ultimatum is contained in a letter from the workers' unions to the President and the Minister of Health, calling on the government to summon the Chief Medical Director of the Center, Mrs. Angela Wakwem, to answer the cases she has with the nation's anti-graft body. The labor unions are claiming that the return of the CMD to the hospital is a violation of the civil service rule.
For over a year, the Chief Medical Director of Federal Medical Center, Owerri, was on suspension to allow the government to investigate allegations of corruption leveled against her. Her reinstatement last week after a committee by the Ministry of Health exonerated her was, however, greeted by massive protest in Owerri. Workers marched through the streets protesting her reinstatement. They claim that her reinstatement violates the civil service rule.
We have come to say that we know only of a public service rule, PSR. But today, in the case of FMC, it appears there is a public master's rule now. We should demarcate between what Buhari believes and what some of his ministers believe. Just like his wife said, some do not believe in the anti-corruption war. So as soon as they heard, and they got wind of the fact that she has finally been charged, which was the excuse they were giving us, they decided to crown her with reinstatements.
Both the Nigeria Labour Congress and the Trade Union Congress have also given the federal government a 21-day ultimatum to sack the chief medical director because of the case she has with the EFCC.
I think this is a certified true copy of the processes of court. But to our utmost surprise, 5 days after she was arraigned, we are told that on the 16th of this month, the Minister of State for Health, who supervises the federal medical centers, wrote a letter and directed that she should resume work, contrary to the provision of public service rule. And despite the fact that they knew that she was arraigned in court by EFCC. And that, I think, to us, is impunity at the highest level.
Meanwhile, the woman in the eye of the storm, the chief medical director, insists that her accusers cannot be the judges in their own case.
Management is under authority of the owners of the hospital. So I think the staff cannot be the accusers and the judge in any matter. They need to allow everybody to do their work. I'm very sad to hear they talk about downing tools because it's uncalled for. You know, in a situation where so many Nigerians are looking for jobs.
As it stands, services at the Federal Medical Center in Owerri, Imo State capital, have been grounded since the protest started last week. Ultimately, the masses are the ones bearing the brunt.
As the federal government continued its drive to diversify the nation's economy, the Minister of Communications and Technology, Mr. Adebayo Shitu, says ICT can turn things around. The minister made this known at the 4th annual meeting of the National Council on Communications Technology holding in Kaduna State, northwest of Nigeria. He said given the potential of the sector to generate employment, it received the required attention.
Commissioners of Science and Technology from the 36 states of the Federation and other experts gather in this hall to strategize on how to position the ICT sector as a driving force of the nation's economy. The theme of the conference is information and communication technology as a focal point of Nigeria's economic diversification. Declaring the event open, the Kaduna State Governor, Mr. Nasir El-Rufai, urged the Ministry of Information and Communication Technology to come up with strong policies that will promote ICT development in the country.
It is my expectation that this year's regular meeting will come up with a roadmap that will assist our country and its teeming youthful talents to begin to reap from the many untapped opportunities inherent in the Nigerian ICT sector.
The Minister of Communications, Mr. Adebayo Shitu, assures participants that the federal government is working towards ensuring that mobile telecom service users are not exploited by service providers, especially in the areas of unsolicited messages.
I'm aware that most mobile telecom users in the country have had the unpleasant experiences of being inundated with unsolicited SMS messages and other messages from service providers. I'm glad to inform you that a Do Not Disturb code has now been put in place to stop these unwholesome practices.
The National Council on Communications Technology acts as a consultative body for the governments of the Federation in matters pertaining to ICT, with a view to achieving some degree of uniformity in the sector.
In part two, after the break, first African female to appear on television, Mrs. Anike Agbajo-Williams turns 80. Hear what President Buhari has to say about her. Please join us again.